Welcome back to the Lights Out podcast, bedtime stories for boys and girls around the world. Good evening, boys and girls. Are you ready for bed? Are you all snuggled up and ready for a Lights Out bedtime story? Well, you're in for a treat tonight, because we have a story by me, improvised and made up on the spot just now. And the story is called Jack Time. And this story was inspired by a story I told to my kids just the other week. And it's about a boy who was always late, but how his lateness changed the whole city and everyone in it. Now, do you want to hear the story? Okay, let's start. Once upon a time, there was a boy called Jack, and he was born very, very small, and his mum was very worried about him all the time, and she heard that if you sleep a lot, you grow a lot, which is actually true. And so this mum would let Jack sleep as long as possible. Now this wasn't a problem when he was a baby, and he did grow quite well. But when he started school, he had a schedule and a timetable that should be followed. But Mum didn't really listen to that or take notice. She would always let him wake up by himself. However, he loved to sleep, and he would always wake up late. He would eat his breakfast and get ready to school, and he would walk just around the corner because his house was next to the school. His teacher would always be a bit angry with him and say, "Jack, why is it that you are always the last to get to school, but you're the one that lives the closest, just around the corner?" "I don't know, my mum doesn't wake me up." "Well, I think you need to be a bit more responsible and maybe set an alarm." And so that day, he went back home to his mum and said, "Mum, why don't we have an alarm so I can get up like normal people, like early, and have breakfast and get to school right on time?" And his mum said, "Well, I want you to sleep as much as you can so you can grow tall and strong like your dad." "Okay, but I'm always late." "Don't worry about it." And then, when he got a little bit older, his school was a bit further away, but he still walked to school every day, late. Now he'd heard of his friend, Chocolate, but Jack was always late because his mum didn't wake him up. And one day, as he was walking to school, he saw a commotion just around the corner. What happened? There was a big fire in this building about 10 minutes ago. You're lucky you missed it. If you'd have been walking around the corner 10 minutes ago, your bum would have been on fire. "Well, that's unbelievable," said Jack. Not too many days afterwards, Jack was walking to school quite late when he noticed another group of people all crowded round. As he walked over, he saw that several plant pots from Mrs. Barnes's window had dropped and smashed from the 3rd floor. "I don't know what happened, but about 10 minutes ago, Jack, my house started shaking and all the plant pots dropped off and smashed on the ground. You, young man, you're so lucky, because if you had been on time at school like the other boys and girls, you would have been hurt. Julie and Tony are in the hospital with a broken shoulder." "Oh, wow." And as the days and weeks passed, it seemed that Jack being late was helping him to avoid catastrophe. It was helping him to miss disaster, and it was helping him to get away from what? Damage and harm. That's right. Now, as Jack grew up, he became quite famous, and very rightly so, for the boy who was always late, but also for the boy who always missed the danger, who always escaped the crisis. One day, when he was supposed to be going to the school trip down to London, obviously he was late and he missed the school bus, and he ended up getting in a crash. Not a big one, mind. Mr. Thompson got a black eye, and all the kids were taken to hospital for an afternoon, but they all went home. Jack wasn't on the bus because he was late. Another time when the school went skiing in France and took the aeroplane. The aeroplane, when it landed, broke its wheels and they all crashed, skidding down the runway, bruising the bombs. Jack wasn't on the plane either because he was 10 minutes late for the taxi to the airport. Well, soon all the city started to talk about Jack, the boy who escapes disaster for being late. And then a funny thing started to happen. All at once, it seemed, people from around the city, old people, young people, teenagers, adults and children, they were all not bothering about keeping the time they were on. And when they got to their appointment, when they got to the meeting, when they walked into the classroom 10 minutes late, they started to say, "I'm on Jack time." When the teacher would demand, "Where have you been, Tony? You're 10 minutes late for class." "Oh, sir, I'm on Jack time." "Excuse me, Mr. Smith, you're 10 minutes late for your interview. Could you tell me where you've been?" Yeah, I'm on Jack time." "Excuse me, Miss Sarah, why are you late for work?" I'm on Jack time." And it seemed that when people were on the Jack time, they too were escaping or missing disaster. Miss Sarah escaped a very near collision with a herd of rhinos that had escaped from the zoo. Little Timmy had actually escaped a big dragon who picked up all his friends from the bus, dropped them off in the cave actually, and soon it was widespread that all the people who were getting up late, getting to meetings late, were avoiding all these disasters. So, the mayor of the city had only one choice. He declared a decree, which was he would change the clocks back by 10 minutes to match Jack time. And so everybody on a Sunday night on the 2nd of July would change their clocks back by 10 minutes. And you know what? On the Monday, on the 3rd of July, a funny thing happened. From that day on, nobody in the whole city who woke up at Jack time had any accidents or fights or mishaps or disasters. There was no fighting, no smashed flower pots, no car crashes or train derailments, or dragons, or bruised bums. Nothing at all. All because of Jack time. And you know what's even better? On top of this, Jack was never late again. The end of Jack Time by me, Martyn Kenneth. An improvised story told just now. Hope you liked it. The end of Jack Time by Martyn Kenneth. Here on the Lights Out podcast. Bedtime stories for boys and girls on Jack Time. The end